All right, so welcome to my first class. Taking a little bit different approach. As my channel gets more popular, I'm finding people are contacting me asking specific questions about things, and I thought this would be a good opportunity to have a discussion about septic systems. This is kind of a prequel. The whole reason I'm out at this property today was to meet with the septic guys, my septic contractor, Steve from AAA Allied out of Santa Fe, and inspect this septic tank. So this house was built in 1977, and when the guy who is selling it, my seller, bought the house, it was originally a 4-bedroom house. And there was one bedroom in the upstairs area that was extremely large. And so what he did was he built a wall in between the 2 bedrooms, and now it's 2 bedrooms. So now this house is a 5-bedroom house. And I'll get back to why that's important in just a minute. But overall, and generally speaking, in the state of New Mexico, if a property is equipped with a septic system, the seller is responsible for having that system inspected, pumped out, and re-permitted by the Environment Department. So generally speaking, any septic company can do all that work for you. So if you call them up and say, I'm buying a house, and actually it's the seller that's going to have to call them up and do that, and say, I'm selling my house, I need to get my septic re-permitted and inspected. They'll come out, they'll charge you probably $1,000, maybe a little more, depending if they have to travel or not, and they will do just that. So when we were here, there were 2 potential issues that I was worried about, and both of them came true. So the first problem was the 5 bedrooms versus the 4 bedrooms. So in the state of New Mexico, septic tanks and the corresponding drain field or leach field are sized according to the number of bedrooms in the house, not the number of bathrooms, the number of bedrooms. You could have a 10-bathroom, 1-bedroom house, and you would only be required to put in probably a 400-gallon tank. Now, from what I know, for example, a 3 to 4-bedroom home, which is most typical, would usually require a tank size of around 750 to 1,000 gallons. Anything over 4 bedrooms, you might be looking at a 1,250-gallon tank, maybe even up to a 1,500-gallon tank. So issue number 1, as soon as the guys drove up, the tank's too small. This tank is probably, they were guessing it was even less than 1,000 gallons, which means it puts it way out of reach for a 5-bedroom home to qualify for that. So right off the bat, we've got a problem, and you need to know this. So if you ever buy a house or property with a septic system and you add another bedroom onto that house, it could have pretty severe consequences for your septic setup. So anyways, we're kind of teetering on the edge as it is there. And then they pumped the tank out and ran a water test to test the leach field. So there's 2 things we're doing here right now. The water test is just a hose straight down into the leach field to make sure that the water is not backing up into the tank, to make sure that it's draining out properly into the leach field, okay? Usually, leach fields are not cause of your problem, although it certainly can be at some times. This leach field is basically a PVC with a gravel base, and it was trenched, and it was put in probably in 1977. And it's fine. It's working great. There's nothing that needs to be done with that leach field. And in fact, Steve mentioned that sometimes those older leach fields are outlasting ones that are newer. So in any case, that's probably a $15,000 to $20,000 job if you needed to fix the leach field. Okay. So now let's get back to the tank. So they finished pumping out the tank. It seemed a little quick, is what he said, and probably is indicating that it's less than 1,000 gallons. So it's not gonna qualify anyways for a 5-bedroom house. But once the whole tank was pumped out, we noticed that it is original, number one. The tank is from 1977, probably. And the material was weird too. I'm drawing a blank on what the material is right now, but I'll come back to it. It was not a heavy-duty plastic like you see a lot of newer tanks these days are heavy-duty plastic. And sometimes they were concrete too. So this tank, it is a round circular tank, and it's got baffles that connect on the side. So there's a straight piece underneath in the baffle that holds back the heavies, if you know what I'm saying. And then it lets the liquid flow over the top, okay? Well, the problem was that baffle, its system in there, was starting to dislocate from the sidewall. So once that happens, that basically means the tank failed. So we got an F today on this, but I thought it was a really good learning tool for everyone. And I want to identify the reasons why it's so important if you're buying a house to attend a septic inspection and make sure that you're working with a reliable septic contractor, okay? So we got out here and met with Steve, and there's one riser lid, okay? Usually there's two, so that was a little bit of a red flag to start. But Steve was able to figure out that there were actually two other openings that did not have riser lids on them, but we basically exposed the length of the tank itself. And with that one riser lid, they had some drywall screws. The thing was screwed on to death. It took us forever to get it off. And then we had to uncover the other two outlets. We had to dig like two big holes. And those two big holes, were, maybe 2.5 feet down before we hit these other risers. They were not uncovered during the last inspection. Whoever inspected this septic tank in 2021, when my sellers bought this property, did not do a proper inspection on that tank. They took the lid off, they pumped it out, they probably shined a flashlight down in there, said, okay, we're good, we're out of here. And then they left. So unfortunately, this is now the responsibility of my seller to fix. So according to the state of New Mexico, the law is if you want to sell your house, you have to make sure as the seller that you're providing a septic system that is in proper working order, that has been recently pumped out, and that gets a new certificate of operation or permit from the Environment Department. So that's phase 2 of what we're going to have to do now. So before we can close on this property, the seller needs to agree to spend roughly $10,000, maybe $12,000, to put in a tank. By the way, it's going to be 1,500 gallons, sized properly to fit 5 bedrooms. And it's a pretty simple job. They take out the old, they crush the top of the old tank open, and they dig a hole next to it, and they use the backfill from the hole to fill in the old tank. Okay, because you can't take the old tank out and take it to the dump. It's considered hazardous waste. Nobody will take that stuff. The state will allow you to leave that tank intact in the ground, and as long as it's pumped out and empty, disconnected from everything, you backfill it with dirt from the new hole, you never have to worry about it again. So then the new tank plops right in, connect the inlet, connect the outlet, we're back in business. It's a one-day job, but it's $10,000 for the tank, for a couple of guys, and a big old backhoe to dig the hole. So let that be a lesson. If you are getting a property that has a septic, first of all, try to get Steve from AAA, because he doesn't take shortcuts. He will dig out there for 5 hours until he figures it out. Now, the rest of this video is going to be me surreptitiously videoing questions and answers, because I really wanted you to have a chance to hear the remarks from Steve himself, because he's so knowledgeable about everything and really straightforward guy and clear cut. Like, he's not going to beat around the bushes, and he really knows his shit.
So by doing this, you'll see the water coming out of the drain field. So right now, we're gonna run like a 15-minute water test. And right now, just the water we're doing is called a slug loading. So back in the day, this was designed for about 375 gallons per day. Nobody in their right mind would put 375 gallons a day down their drain field. So the state would oversize them. Most, like a 3-bedroom home, people would maybe use 75 gallons a day. On a heavy day, like you're doing laundry, you might use 100. So it's like size 3 times more than
it needs.
So it can handle like like if you had a party here, it could handle a party of 30, 40 people here using the bathroom. It can handle it. So this guy's designed for 375 gallons per day. Right now, we'll probably put about 100, 125 down there. Then we'll just walk around the drain field, make sure we don't see any water surfacing. 9 times out of 10, if your field's gonna go bad, the water's gonna come back where it came from. So it's gonna come and head right back into the septic and then wanna head back to the house. Because hydraulically, water wants to find as easy to escape. If it can't come out of the ground, then because it's buried, it probably has about 2 feet of cover. So if the water can't come out of the surface out there, it's going to come back where it came from. So if drain field's failing, the water will start pulling back, coming back, and then start filling up your tank, and then start pushing the water back in towards the house.
And if it's working correctly, it's draining
It's
out
just it's
faster
taking
than it comes in.
As soon as we're putting the water in, it's taking it, because I can look in here and you can see the pipe there, and the water's not coming back. So let's pump it. But let's just do it 2 holes. With the fiberglass, they kind of made like to attach the wall to the tank itself. Well, that whatever they did to use it, it's coming apart, so the water's shooting from that side. So it's putting a lot of pressure on this baffle wall. So I'm gonna recommend a tank replacement.
So it failed.
Yeah, I'm gonna fail it just because the age, and I have a real strong. I don't really mess with a lot of fiberglass tank, but
Well, there's a reason why they don't use them anymore.
no. And then for some reason, it just doesn't look. It doesn't look long enough and wide enough. This almost looks to me like it's only a 750, but I'm not gonna say it is or isn't because we pumped it awfully fast.
Do you have a meter on that?
Once I get to level ground, I'm gonna see, but because he's kind of downhill, it could be 1,000 because I got some liquid on that first glass, but I need to get level. It might be 1,000 now that I look at that, but they just pumped it awfully quick first.
Either way, it doesn't matter. If the tank's failed, the tank's failed.
That's what I'm saying is, let's just fill the tank and,
All right.
and what we'll do is we'll put a 1,500-gallon plastic tank here, which it's made by Infiltrator. You can go online and look at it. They're probably the best plastic tanks that are made out here. And they're dry burial tanks. They're made to be pumped out of and left empty, and then you can fill them as you're slowly putting in water from the house. The other tanks made by Noresco, they would recommend that after you pump them, to fill them up 2/3 with clean potable water. You can pull it and rinse it out. Yeah, but the plastic tanks we put in are made by Infiltrator, and they're probably the best tank that you can put out here.
Okay.
And my suggestion would be is once we figure out, probably put the tank right on. So what we do is, if the tank's full again, we'll come back out and pump it.
Nobody's living here right now,
so it should stay empty.
Yeah.
So we'll come and we'll dig this kind of out there. Then he'll just rip the whole top of that section of the tank there. Then the dirt from the new hole, they will just fill this tank in because it's cheaper
to just leave it.
Abandon the tank there, because if we haul it out, then they consider it as being hazardous.
Yeah.
And no landfill.
Where do you take it? Yeah.
No Santa Fe, nowhere will take it.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to get an out-of-state company to come, and it's gonna be thousands. So the state allows us to do what's called a tank abandonment form, and we just abandon the old tank right in place, put the new tank. So you'll have a 1,500-gallon tank sitting right here, and it's gonna have 3 lids, one in the front, one in the middle, and one in the back. And suggestion to you is just kind of not drive back here.
That's what I was going to ask, if it could be placed anywhere to drive or anything, but probably
Well, you can. I mean,
Can it go just a little bit this way?
The further we go that way, then we might lose grade to our drain field. So we kind of keep it up here so we don't lose, because if we lose grade to the drain field, then you put a new drain field in.
Yeah.
And if the drain field's working, why put
So the drain field doesn't have to be sized at all according to the tank?
So the state regulation now is, as long as the drain field is operating and it's working, you do not have to do anything with it. When it fails, then you'll have to bring it up to whatever code is at that time. So it passed the test now, so we can't say you have to enlarge it or do this or do that. When it fails, then you, as whoever is homeowner at the time, will have to bring the drain field up to whatever. If it's a 5-bedroom home, then you got to put 1,050 square feet of leach field in there. You have the area to do it, so it's not like you're in a confined space. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
is there a way to
elm trees or these Russian olives, because they're non-native trees,
right?
And they are just water suckers. They are good for drain fields for a minimal amount of time. What happens, the roots will just start investing in there, and then they'll get inside your pipe, and once they get inside your pipe, they block the water.
Right.
Then the water can't drain into the soil. Then you can put in new drain fields sooner than later. But, you know,
Just cut it down then. That's
the best thing to cut it down. If you can get rid of the, kill it. You know, a lot of old timers used to do is drill holes in it or get a chainsaw and cut some holes in it.
put some poison down in it.
This is a tree that'll come back.
Oh yeah, if you cut it off, it'll come back. Yeah, the best thing to do is, if you can, yank the trunk. If you can't, drill a bunch of holes in it. The old timers used to put gas or oil in it, and it'd take years to finally kill it off.
Treat
Yeah.
it like a mesquite tree.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's a water sucker, and they are the worst for anywhere. You don't want these guys anywhere near your septic system, because they're no good. And especially now with this crazy drought we've been having, we're not getting a lot of moisture, so these guys are suffering. And
They'll go anywhere.
They're pushing their roots, even all the trees. They're pushing their roots further out because they're so desperate for water. And I'll tell you, he can ruin your drain field. Okay. We see it a lot, especially on part-time homes, because they're happy. He's happy with a full-time home because he's constantly getting water. Part-time homes, they might be there for 3-4 months, so he's happy there. But then they're gone for 4 or 5 months. Well, his roots, I said, well, where'd the water go? So they start traveling. We even have roots we're starting to find some of these part-time homes. Roots travel. It's very rare, but the roots travel from the drain field. They're traveling up to the septic tank and sucking the water out of the tanks, because they've been so happy with that wastewater, and now it's gone. It's pushing up the moisture to the roots of these ragweed, and the ragweed loves it. That's why they're so tall here. But every spring you cut them down, they're going to grow back, and then in the fall you cut them down. And that'll help you getting both soil and soil evaporation. That sun, like today, that sun's pounding on the ground, it's pushing that moisture up to it. That's why some of these roots are still green.
Which is, you're saying that's a good thing?
Yeah.
The double.
Yeah, so like I said, but we have some people that leave them, and they get 6 feet tall, and they don't cut them down. They just let them fall in the winter. Well, then you're going to have 7 to 10 inches of nothing but dead weeds. Well, then the sun can't pound on that ground because there's that much blockage. If you just keep it cut down, you know what I mean? And what happens too is, if you keep this cut down, then the natural vegetation will start coming back.
Well, that's what I was. Yeah, I wanted to be better just to have a.
If you start getting, you might throw some buffalo grass or like these that brush. Mm-hmm. What happens? These guys have overtaken it. But
This shouldn't be here.
The chamisas, eventually the chamisas and stuff, all this, they'll seed, and they'll start throwing their seed over here, and you'll notice that that bush, these guys are just, they'll overtake anything. This ragweed, they're just.
But this is the kind of stuff you want to look for.
Yeah.
And you're not worried about the roots on these?
No, because they're like the weeds. They're shallow, they're very shallow rooters, and their roots aren't aggressive like this guy. These guys, you dig it up, and the roots are like this, and the further they go out, they just get, But these guys, you can almost now, you can pull them up right out of the ground.
But that's a lot of weed.
No, you just want to get
Just
a
mow
machine,
it, right?
If you have a small tractor or something, just get it and just push them down into the royo there, and eventually the native stuff will come back. If you get all this,
It might take a couple seasons to keep this in check,
Yeah, you could actually even go down to they have them in Santa Fe, the nurseries, and they can sell you some natural native seed. It might take a couple of tries, but I've seen where the native grass will come back. It's just this ragweed is just so rough.
Yeah.
they'll just
Just let me take a quick picture here because I want to make sure this owner knows what's happening. Cool, thanks.
gophers. You see gophers, that means that's a good sign too, because that means the water's not coming close to the surface. Because they don't like to be they don't like to flood their dens, so they stay on the outside of the perimeter. Well, you would know if you had a bleaching problem, because you'd get, especially on this one, it'd be shallow. You'd get a big green patch somewhere, like almost looks like a lettuce patch. These big green, almost like an ear of an elephant. It's this weird plant that'll grow there. And
I've seen those.
And you move it, and you can see the water bubbling out of the ground, and it's black.
So that's a sign that the field failed.
It's not taking the water.
Okay.
And it's found a place, because water tries to find its easiest escape. So if it can find a low spot, it'll come out of there, and it'll start actually just bubbling out of the ground. But here you can tell there's never been a problem with it. You can just tell the roots just flooding. But if it was me, I would just, once that new tank comes in, I would definitely not even really think about it. I would just maybe fence this area off. Because you got a gate there, but we've had people, I don't know if I told you a story about the guy in Condensito. Our customer lived here, and his neighbor lived down here. So one night he went into town and had a few too many drinks. So he drove back home, missed his driveway, went up to the neighbors. Neighbor didn't have a gate, went up, got stuck, went backwards, hit the guy's propane tank, rolled down the mountainside 200 feet.
The propane tank or the guy's truck?
The guy's hit the propane tank and rolled it. Got stuck. The guy was there, he was out of town. Finally got the truck unstuck, backed up again, drove over the septic and crushed the septic tank.
Oh my God.
So he had to buy the guy a new propane tank and buy the guy a new septic
That
tank.
was an expensive night out at the bar.
Expensive night at the bar. Yeah, so you know, definitely, especially where the tank is, definitely, if you don't want to close it off, railroad tie it or something. That way, somebody hits a railroad tie, they stop. But you know, you get strangers driving into your property, they don't care. They'll just drive in, they'll just make a full circle, and they don't care whatever they drive over. But
Yeah.
But yeah, that was an expensive night out in town for the guy.
Okay, so timing wise
So
on this,
when are you guys closing?
we're supposed to close November 15th.
Okay, oh yeah, we'll get it in before that.
So that's 3 weeks.
Yeah, no, we're this time of year, we still got some jobs, but the nice thing about now is
Not like
busy.